is up? I'm Rick, the Fat Man GM. You may or may have not have heard of me babbling and rambling on a few of the YouTube channels and Facebook channels regarding to our hobby, role-playing games in general, tabletop games, wargaming, so on, etc. I have started back when I was in my early teens. I have well over 40 years worth of experience in this hobby that we love and share. And a big part of what I like to do is go back and revisit a lot of the stuff that I have and have accumulated in my gaming career, if you will. And everything from MERP, Starfleet, from FASA, a slew of Dungeons and Dragons and Shadowrun, Star Wars, etc., etc., etc. And I revisit these items individually, and hopefully to give some nostalgia for myself, to give you a little bit of an insight into some game system that you may or may not have heard of or may have not had the opportunity to play, and to remind those of us out there that do have them that these are quite viable and still entertaining today. So here we go. Alright, my friends, this is from FASA Corporation, the Regula-1 Orbital Station Deck Plans. Nice nifty little source book edition for your Star Trek role-playing game. Create your own adventures aboard Regula-1. The R1 type station is seen as Star Trek II. The Wrath of Khan also includes the R1 station's history, description, 8 variants, and support craft, etc., etc., etc. Table of contents. Copyright 1987. I'm not sure if that's the copyright for the book or for the movie, but And our introduction, description of contents, the origins. It says, in accordance to the Office of Starfleet Operations Directive 2878-23Y, this booklet presents the specific information concerning the design and use of the R1 type orbital deep space station produced by Chakotay's Starship Construction and Ranchura Shipping Lines. The R1 is easily adaptable to a wide variety of functions. It plays a key role in Federation security. Fleet officers should familiarize themselves with the various duties and capabilities of the station, its major variants, and its support craft. Origins. R1 was designed to meet the growing need for such a facility among scientific, civilian, and military sectors. Stardate 2/01, Starfleet Command petitioned Federation Council to request bids to replace the older K-type support stations, which were used primarily as trade centers and way stations between distant ports of call. At the same time, the Federation's scientific community was lobbying for observation platforms to study astronomical and astrophysical phenomena such as the Mersaki quasar and the Tritonian comet cloud. These divergent appeals spurred Ranchura Shipping and Chakotay Starship engineers to draft the blueprints for a modular station system capable of fulfilling both roles. Logistics. Here is a running list of the current existing stations. There's quite a few of them, and their variations, their variants, and where they're located, who's controlling them, where they are, and what they're doing. The Vega Harrier 1 is an artisan class R1. It's a corporate owned, and it's vegan tobacco processing. Nice to know that tobacco still has a place in the future, right? I never took up smoking. Not that I didn't try when I was younger. It's just it doesn't matter. Fatalities, the layout, your basic stats on this thing. Ship level descriptions, and some kind of typical FASA Starfleet blueprints. They're useful, and sometimes they're kind of not so useful. You have to kind of use your head and look around. So the turbo lifts, and then the hallways. So you got to know which is what. Various locations. So this is a nice little supplement, because you can utilize this in your Starfleet campaign in a lot of different places for a lot of different purposes, and repurpose and use them over and over and over again. So having this source book is ideal, because it saves you a lot of hassle in coming up with some of this stuff on your own. unless of course you really like to build your own, and then hey, knock yourself out. Right? If even then, it will still give you another thing that I like about this sort of stuff, right, is that it gives me ideas for other stuff. And when I was running Starfleet, Star Trek back in the day, we had a lot of different types of ships and things that weren't necessarily in canon, or were in canon, but we had no blueprints for. Having this particular thing, this particular source book, allowed me to tap into these blueprints, and I could modify them. I could take them down and wait for it. We used to take these things to the convenience store or to a place that had a Xerox machine, and it would cost you 10 cents a copy to Xerox a copy, because we didn't have the scanners and printers at home. Just saying, things have changed. You tell me what convenience store in your neighborhood still has a Xerox machine in it, because a lot of the ones, and in most of the grocery stores in our region, had at least one Xerox machine in the back, usually where our customer service area was, and you'd either pay the person behind the counter to make the copies for you, or you made yours at 10 cents a copy, or you did it at work or at school, or someplace where you could get it done. It didn't cost you a lot of money. Just saying, right? So we get away from doing that stuff now, because we can just get digital prints of this, pop it out and print it out on our printer, or we can make our own using some very nifty drafting tools and things like that. But the point though is it gives you some working ideas for doing layouts for ships and things like this. And I've used this for not just Star Trek. I've used it for Star Wars and space opera and a number of other sci-fi settings, because I needed something and I didn't want to spend a goober amount of time doing it from scratch. It depended on the situation at the time, right? So, like I said, it's always nice to have these extra tools in your toolbox or on your shelf, because you just never know when you might find a handy use for them. There, cutaway, additional information, ship repair, air filtration, recreation level. And there was our variants. So this is our typical R1S seen in the TV or in the movie, and in DS9 toward the latter seasons when they were in the heart of the Dominion War. They actually used some variant of the R1 as a forward operations base for the fleet operations near the wormhole. Let's see, probably more than one. Here's the Artisan type for Orbital Manufacturing Center. You can see distinct differences in how it's patterned. So it's not exactly a carbon copy of the administrative type. It's a little more smoother. Deep space surveillance system here. A lot of those. Recreational facility. Orbital Medical Center. Orbital Penal Institution. Got to have your prisons, right? Here's a support vessel. This is a warp tender designed to, as you can see, hook up to the thing and pull it through warp. Pretty much all that ship does, according to the stats on I've read about it. They don't have a lot of internal storage, because it takes just about everything it has to drag that floating platform through space. Some Scorpio corvettes, predecessors of what we know as the runabouts, maintenance pods. They have a special medical pod there. Infiltrator type surveillance drone, another set of identifications for it. So in a nutshell, basically what we can do, if you're having operations, let's say you're operating in a remoter section of the Federation influence, or on its borders or slightly past its borders, Starfleet could set up impromptu support supply locations. They can truck in their mobile fleet repair bays and bring in a half dozen of these things of various types to create both, for administrative and support, for recreation and medical, without needing to rush people all the way back to the home, to a nearby planet or star base. Very nice little addition to the Star Trek game system, in my opinion.